Kyle Bradish makes his long-awaited return to the Baltimore rotation. How will he fare? How has he looked? We're going to talk about it. This is Krusty Case from the Gold Boys Network here, coming to you with the slate preview for May 2nd. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Sleeper Picks, but more on that later. Let's hop right into this slate. It is a bit of a shorter slate. We only have 5 games, so might spend a little extra time on all of them, but I'm going to run through this pretty quick. The first game on our slate is the Colorado Rockies taking on the Miami Marlins. This is Peter Lambert versus Edward Cabrera. First thing for me in this one is you have a Rockies team who continues to not hit. If you've been paying attention, they just find new ways to lose each and every day. First game of this series, they actually went up 5-0 almost immediately, and then found a way to blow that 5-run lead and lose the game. Today, nothing different. Still can't hit, still can't score. And now here they face Edward Cabrera, who his biggest issue being control, but he gets a Rockies team who has the highest chase rate in baseball by a wide margin, as well as the lowest chase contact rate in baseball by a very wide margin. So I think that lack of control and that bit of Wild Thing-esque type pitching that he does is going to fare really well against this Rockies team. Top to bottom, 1 through 9, they have 9 guys who consistently expand the zone, consistently swing at bad pitches, and struggle with velo, which we all know Edward Cabrera's favorite thing is velo. He throws a 90-mile-per-hour power change. So for me here, it's a Miami Marlins spot. I'm not really a big fan of laying the -184 the price at, but I think like a Edward Cabrera player performance double. So right off the bat, I would say Edward Cabrera, 6 strikeouts and a win would be my best look in this one. I think you could ladder that up. I think he's going to end up with probably 8, 9, possibly 10 Ks here. It's a great spot for him. Great spot for him to pitch deep into this game, where he should see a lot of strikes, even on balls that maybe he wouldn't normally see it, because this team does expand the zone so much. Our next one is the New York Yankees taking on the Baltimore Orioles. This is Carlos Rodon versus Kyle Bradish. So Kyle Bradish, coming off the IL, in his final rehab start, he threw just under 80 pitches, struck out 6, looked really sharp. Everything I read, it sounds like he's about as close to full go as he could be. He will be on normal rest. This will be the 6th day, so 5 days rest. And I do expect him to fare fairly well here against the Yankees. Obviously, it's a tough lineup on paper, but this is one of those teams where on the final game of a series, I don't know, final game of the series against Oakland, we saw it's just one of those teams where I feel like they just don't show up personally. So for me here, I do lean Baltimore at home. I don't love it because I don't love backing a guy making his first start of the season. But on the other side, Rodon, lefty, obviously, struggled with his command. This Orioles team does strike out against left-handed pitching, but they are hitting left-handed pitching extremely well. So I do think Baltimore gets it done. So Baltimore money line for me here. And no real strong leans to any of the pitcher props in this one for me. Bradish K's, like I said, coming off of IL, I'm not super interested in backing him specifically. And then Rodon, I guess small lean to his over, but he's one of those guys where he can turn it on, turn it off, and he always seems to be in that turn it off mode where he's just kind of pitching to contact and limiting the damage. And then if he gets into trouble, he'll kind of turn it up. But I'm not willing to bet on him turning it up, long enough to cover his strikeout line. Our next one is the Chicago Cubs taking on the New York Mets. This is Ben Brown versus Adrian Hauser. This is a pretty interesting one here because Adrian Hauser, super familiar with this Cubs team. Obviously pitched in Milwaukee for multiple seasons. Ben Brown, he's looked pretty good. When he gets into trouble, though, he has a tendency to kind of just blow it up. So, and the Cubs are very careful with him because of that. So he's one of those guys where he could go 5 innings if he's pitching well. If he's not pitching well, he could easily be pulled, in the 4th or even before that. We've seen it already. We saw it last start. A little bit of trouble, and he was yanked almost immediately. So for me here, I do lean towards the over. I think the familiarity with Hauser is going to pay off really well for the Cubs. Plus, they're swinging incredibly hot bats right now. On the other side, the Mets, I just think Ben Brown, like I said, if he gets into trouble, he's going to struggle. And I think that this Mets team, they gave a lot of their guys a day off in this last game. So I think we'll see their normal lineup here, and I think they can get to Ben Brown. So just give me runs. Give me the over. I believe it's at 8.5. I love that. Over 8.5 runs in the Cubs and Mets.
wait, before we get back to the picks, I wanted to thank you all for watching. Friends don't let friends watch videos without hitting the like button. So go ahead and press the thumbs up button and like the video. If you're new here and not subscribed, you should go ahead and do so because we're dropping new content each and every day on the Gold Boys Network. We strive to cover every sport and give out picks and analysis and valuable information for free on the Gold Boys Network. So make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell so you can get notified when we drop something new. I'm Brad Thomas. Let's get back to the picks.
Our next one is the San Francisco Giants taking on the Boston Red Sox. This is Kyle Harrison versus Josh Winkowski. This is an interesting spot because both teams obviously travel and then have a game with no day off. So the bigger travel spot is Boston. They have to travel to Minnesota after this, whereas San Francisco is going from Boston to Philly, so not nearly as long of a flight. I think both these teams, neither pitcher is particularly a guy I like to back, but both these teams in this particular spot, I expect them to kind of just put out their, travel day lineups, which I'm sure you guys have all seen. You get a lot of the bench guys in. Lineups don't necessarily look how they normally do. And I think this game's going to be pretty boring, truthfully. These pitchers should be able to pitch well enough to limit the damage here, keep the scoring low. Specifically in the first five, I'm looking at a first five under here. I know it's a little scary at Fenway, but I just don't like these bats. Boston, league average against left-handed pitching, nothing crazy. And like I said, there's a good chance you see some of their bigger guys take a day off. Giants overall just not hitting well, period. And so Winkowski, while he hasn't been great, he has good enough stuff to limit this lineup. And even if they turn it over to the bullpen pretty quick, which they have in the past, I think the bullpen can, limit the Giants for the inning that might be required to get us to the first five. But give me a first five under. Our next one is the Washington Nationals taking on the Texas Rangers. This is Mitchell Parker versus Nathan Eovaldi. Eovaldi looked really good in his last start. Granted, it was against the Reds, so I'm not going to put too much stock into that. Getting a Nationals team here, hitting below league average against right-handed pitching. I like Eovaldi to pitch deep here. Give me Eovaldi outs. I think it's a great look. Mitchell Parker on the other side looked really, really good against the Dodgers and the Astros, and then looked really, really, really average against Miami. And that was where kind of the struggles from the minors came back, where he was really struggling with command. He was walking guys, that was the big bugaboo with him when he was down AAA. So here he gets a Texas team that on paper, when you look at the lineup, they look like they should mash left-handed pitching, and they did last year. This year they're struggling quite a bit. WRC plus was just 75 over the last 14 days. Not great, obviously, below league average. This spot, though, in particular, I think you could see it where the Texas kind of gets their bats going here. Parker, I watched him pitch his last two starts, and even in the one against the Astros, it was more of the Astros just, they get into kind of that groove where they're just in swing mode, and he kind of was able to take advantage of it and really, really hit his spots. I just think it's too hard for him to consistently hit his spots like that. I think that what we saw against Miami, it's not quite what the norm's going to be, but I think we're kind of going to meet in the middle here between the Houston game and the Miami game, and I think it's just he's going to struggle. You're going to see walks, you're going to see base runners, and then with guys like Adolis Garcia in the middle of this lineup, Evan Carter, they're going to do damage. So for me here, it's Nathan Eovaldi outs and Texas Rangers team total over. I'm not sure what the line's going to be at. I'm guessing 4.5. Anything up to 4.5, I would definitely play. Texas team total over.
What's going on, everybody? I just want to take this moment to give a special shout out to our sponsor, Sleeper Picks. Thank you for sponsoring this video, and don't forget you can use code GOLDBOYS for a $500 deposit match on your first deposit. Thank you, Sleeper Picks, for sponsoring this video. Now back to the bets.
The last one on our slate is the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Houston Astros. This is Logan Allen versus Spencer Arguetti. First thing for me here, Logan Allen hasn't been great this season. I believe 3+ earned runs in every start. Gets an Astros team who they have cooled off a bit against left-handed pitching, but they're still top 5. WRC plus 122. Batting average is around 275, I believe. I mean, they're absolutely crushing left-handed pitching. So Logan Allen, a guy who's already been hit around quite a bit by some lesser teams, including the White Sox. I don't see how he doesn't get hit around here. On the other side, Arguetti, kind of in a mixed bag since he's been called up. Couple good starts, couple bad starts. Really unsure what to make of him, truthfully. Underlying metrics suggest that he's just average. So for me in this one, as much as I want to say, back Houston, I don't necessarily trust Argetti to hold Cleveland down. So it's another spot where I'm looking at like a team total. I think Houston team total is a great look on this one. I think they can get to Logan Allen pretty easy here, and without question score some runs. If I had to pick a side, I do go Houston money line, but like I said, I just have a hard time trusting Argetti. I do like the Houston bullpen, at least where they're kind of getting to. They struggled for pretty much the entire beginning part of the season, but we've kind of seen Presley come on, and they seem to at least be figuring it out a bit. So if they can hold a lead in the later innings, I like their bullpen to slam the door, but I'm just not willing to back them in that capacity. So give me the Houston Astros team total over. That does conclude the slate. If you guys could do me a favor and drop a like, drop a comment, let us know what you like, what you don't. Maybe even drop one of your own plays in the comments. I'd love to read them. I appreciate everybody tuning in. You guys can find all of my plays at goldboys.com. And remember, if you have a gambling problem, dial 1-800-GAMBLER. Thanks, guys.